It's as simple as you've got two opponents opposite each other. You've got a deck of cards in the middle. They choose 3 cards. They flip them over to generate a 3-digit number. So you have to work out who has the higher number. And that's your version of the place value. You could switch it up and you could change it, be like, oh, who's got the lowest number? They're going to win this round. Welcome to Rainbow Skies for New Teachers, where we're all about bite-sized tips and simple strategies for bright and busy new teachers.
If you're in your first few years of your career and want to make the rollercoaster ride of teaching more fun, streamlined and stress-free, you're in the right place.
We're Ashley and Alicia, the dynamic duo from Rainbow Sky Creations, and we're excited to be your teacher mentors on the go. There are rainbows ahead, my friend.
And together, we're unstoppable. Let's get into today's episode.
Rainbow Sky Creations acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Dharawal and Whadjuk Noongar people. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
We are back for yet another episode of Rainbow Skies for New Teachers, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to get together and talk about things in the teaching world. And today we're going to chat about cards and why we love them so much.
Yeah, and we do love cards.
We do. My love of cards actually started as a wee little girl that I was and still am an early riser. And my dad was an early riser as well. When I would wake at 5:30 in the morning and I would creep into the living room, he'd be there watching the morning news. And we started creating a new little habit. And I would get the cards. I would have probably been like 6 or 7 at the time. And I was becoming a lot better at learning my numbers and everything that you're learning in those early years. And would sit and play for a good half an hour in the morning. And that became our little morning ritual. So cards have always held a really special place in my heart because they always remind me of my dad and that time he would just put aside for us to connect before the start of the day. And I could guarantee most of the time I was ready and willing to go to school. And I was that kid who just loved school.
Oh, Papa Hughes.
I know. And I think it's really sweet now that my girls have started getting into the Rainbow Sky supplies and they keep on pulling out the cards and it's the next generation coming through. We know kids love games. But gosh, adults love games. So why not bring that into the classroom? And that's what we're going to talk to you about today. Easy, practical ways that you can teach mathematical concepts to your students using cards. And Ash, can you tell us why we love cards as well from a teacher perspective?
Yeah, so from a teacher perspective, we could use playing cards or we could use any sort of digit cards to play these sorts of games that we're going to talk to you about today. But the reason why we particularly love cards is that they are super colourful, so therefore they're kid-friendly. They have the digits 0 to 9. So a normal deck of cards doesn't have the 0 placeholder, which is really great, especially when you're doing place value sorts of activities with these cards. There's no picture cards. There's no confusion around that. You need to just get rid of the skip and the reverse. But the picture card, there's no confusion around. But they're actually more inclusive for learners because they don't actually have the pictures on the normal numbered cards. You might have 6 of spades and there's 6 spades, which is great for some students and it's great for some learning when they're looking at numbers. But if you're just using the cards for the digits, it's really inclusive not to have those pictures on there because it's not too busy, it's not too overwhelming, and it's not too distracting for our students. Cards are super easy to source, and one of our hot tips is that if you are looking to get some more packs of cards into your classroom, go to your local thrift store or your local charity shop and see if they have any secondhand decks of cards there because they don't need to be full decks of cards. So they're really easy to find like that. And I know a lot of our followers and clients that have purchased stuff from us on TPT have said that they actually go and find cheaper packs in the $2 store or the dollar store as well. So that's another option. And the packs are larger than a normal deck of cards. There are so many more cards, therefore they go a lot further. So that's why we love cards. Alicia, have you ever played Flip?
No, I have not.
So I just played for the first time last week. And it was fun yet confusing. Let us know, everyone, if you've played Flip. I would suggest not getting the Flip cards for what we're talking about today because the cards are double-sided. But yeah, give Flip a go. Just play with somebody that knows how to play. I had a 14-year-old teach me and it was good because she knew all the rules and we didn't take long to pick up. Anyway, that is a complete digression. I know, how unusual for us. Let's talk about some of the activities that we could do using these cards. Now, we're going to go up in age groups. So we're going to start with before before school preschoolers and work our way up to grade 6, because we really believe that these cards are so versatile that you can use them for any age group.
Yes. Love the cards. So say if we're looking at our kindy kids, a really little fun one you can do is numbers before and after. And the card is your number generator. So you flip over a 4 and then you say, what's the number before 4? And what's the number after 4? And you can do that as many times as you want to. And if you've got kids who are like, oh, I'm ready to go 2 before or 2 after, you could do that. But obviously for our little kids, we're just looking at what comes before and what comes after. My soon-to-be preschooler, she's really getting into the befores and after at the moment.
Yes. Another good one for that preschooling age before you actually get into formal school is color sorting. I used to do this all the times with my kids. I get out colored buckets and they just would color sort. So all the reds in one pile, or the yellow, or the green, or the blue. That's a really quick one just to get the kids working. This is actually a really good one to have set up when you have teacher-parent meetings and the little kids are coming into your classroom with parents like brothers and sisters. Have this set up so that they can color sort, or even creating a little number line and putting the numbers in order from 1 through to 9.
Yeah. I look at my 2 kids and I can just see one who'd be like all for the color sorting. And I've got the other one who's, nah, not doing that, Mum.
I wonder what kids they would be. Let's move on to more formal schooling. So the first year of school, kindergarten we call it in New South Wales, but what do you call it over in Perth, Alicia?
Pre-primary.
Pre-primary, we know that they call it foundation, they call it prep. So we're talking first year of school. You could do some of those activities that we just mentioned because we know that kids come in at all different levels. Another one that is really great is to make a tally. So they're starting to learn how to tally numbers. So pulling out a number, say the number 7, and then using a whiteboard to create a tally of number 7, or even using paddle pop sticks to create a tally.
Yes. That is a great one. And another great one to do is number word match. So you've got the number and what's the word? So the numeral 8, the word 8, and they have to match it together. You're going to be practicing those numbers there from 0 all the way through to 9. That's a really good one to do as well.
Yeah, for sure. You could even extend that a little bit further. If they've got the number 8, they've matched the word, then they could get counters and create a collection of 8. All right, let's move on to grade 1, grade 2. Different activities you could do. This first one is one of my favorites. It is a friends to 10 activity using cards. So you could have a special board. We've got little board that we've made up, but you can do this really simply too. They pick up a card and then they've got to say what the number would be to make 10. So if they pick up 5, then they need 5 to make 10. If they pick up 7, it would be 3. If they pick up 6, it would be 4. They could then write the algorithm on a whiteboard. They don't need to. They could actually find the number. So if they've got 5, they could find another 5 and put them in pairs and put them to the side and do another one. This is really good to do with a partner so that they can check each other and make sure that they're keeping each other on track.
Yes. Another one is single digit addition and subtraction. Your cards are that number generator. So they pull out a 3 and a 2. And they have to add it together, 3 plus 2. And then you could also lead that into subtraction, which can be a bit tricky because they have to remember that the biggest number has to go first. So if they pull out a 5 and a 7, they need to know that the 7 has to go before the 5. And then they can do that. Obviously, I wouldn't be expecting them to be writing it down on whiteboards. You would be having counters there. You might have kids who are using their fingers, whatever it might be. But that concrete material for them to be able to solve that single digit addition and subtraction practice. So all they need is a pack of cards and off they are practicing again and again.
Yeah, if you want to have the little symbols, the addition or subtraction symbols, we often just write them on a Post-it note or give the kids a Post-it note and say, here, write your symbol on there and you can use it.
Yes.
It can be really simple.
I used to grab scrap paper and just cut it into squares and go, there you go, there's your pile, babes. Off you go.
Yeah. Now, if you're teaching grade 2 and they need that double digit, just pop 2 cards together to make a double digit. So a 2 and a 0 makes a 20, and then they might say 20 plus 4 or 20 minus 8 or whatever. So that's how you can create double digits. All right, let's move on to that middle primary. So grade 3, grade 4.
Yes. Look, we love a multiplication activity. And one of our favorite ones is you just get two cards and you flip them over. So if they're pulling out a 7 and a 5, 7 times 5 is 35. And you can just maybe keep one number the same. Maybe you want to keep the 5 the same. And you just want them to practice the 5 times table. So they just keep flipping over 5 times 1, 5 times 5, 5 times 4. And then you might have a student be like, I really want to practice my 6 times table. So they just leave a 6 there. And then they're just flipping over a new number. So you're just creating that number generator. You could have the kids doing that individually. You could have them in pairs. You could even have them in small groups where they're competing against each other and one of the kids is an adjudicator. Go nuts with it.
We are interrupting this episode really quickly because I'm sitting here with Isabella from Street Smart Australia. Street Smart's simple mission is to take action against homelessness. Bella, tell us, what is the Schools for Change program?
Well, Schools for Change offers teachers free, ready to use classroom resources and activities that really help to introduce and explore these topics of homelessness and social change.
So tell us, why is it important to embed these conversations about homelessness in our schools and our classrooms?
Young people are often at the forefront of social change, and homelessness is such a tricky topic to talk about. So these resources are really great ways to be able to introduce and explore, what does homelessness mean? What does it look like in age-appropriate ways, and really based on empathy and compassion.
That's brilliant. It is one of those conversations that we don't really have very much in schools. That is very important because we are in the place and the power to create change in our society. And it really starts with our kids. So, Bella, can you tell us, how can teachers get on board with Street Smart Australia?
Absolutely. Teachers can get on board really easily. All you have to do is jump onto our website and download the resources. They're free, they're curriculum aligned, they come with lesson plans and tons of easy ways to spark conversations and empower your students to think about how they can create change in the world.
That's amazing. That would be great as a PDH lesson, or even those days where you have to fill in a little bit of a lesson here or there. They would be perfect, and they are all done for you. And teachers love anything that's time saving.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Bella. Let's work together to empower school communities to help learn about homelessness. Yeah, there's lots of things you can do. I'm glad you mentioned having one card locked in. I think if you're doing this at the beginning, lock in one card. So have the 5 there or the 3 there. That's a really good way to differentiate too, because some kids will be working on those simpler times tables and then some kids can be extended. And then once they are fluent with all of their times tables, then they can flip over the 2 cards. One other thing we do often is just get out a hundreds chart or 120s chart. That's what
Probably
Alicia
better.
loves. Alicia loves 120 chart. I love 100s. With 0 to 9, you probably don't need 120. But anyway, let's not argue about that.
Look, it's just crossing over the hundreds line so they can see where
Yes.
it's going to start. That's the reason behind it. So you
That's
get
the reason.
out whatever chart it is, and then
You get the kids to cross off the answer on the chart as they're doing it. So 7 times 5, 35, cross off the 35 and continue on. Okay. Another thing you could do with your older students in grades 3 and 4 is create 2, 3, 4-digit numbers and compare them using the greater than or less than symbols. Really simple way to work on this activity. You can get them again to write those symbols on a Post-it note and manipulate them that way.
yeah.
Before we move on to grades 5 and 6, let's explain the free game we've got.
Yes. Our place value wars.
Yes.
This is a really great game that you can play with your students, and you can even play a modified version for your younger students and even for your upper grade students.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as you've got 2 opponents opposite each other. You've got a deck of cards in the middle. They choose 3 cards. They flip them over to generate a 3-digit number. So you have to work out who has the higher number, and that's your version of the place value. You could switch it up and you could change it, be like, oh, who's got the lowest number? They're going to win this round. So it really gets them understanding placeholders of the values of their hundreds, their tens, and their ones, and how a value of a number can change. Now, if you've got students, obviously, who are still not understanding place value, you want to be doing those activities where you've actually got those visuals where they can see what 7 ones look like, what 5 tens look like, what 2 hundreds look like. So you'd be getting out things like your MABs.
Yeah. Your place value charts.
Yes. Make sure that you've front loaded them with that information. So when they're ready to start playing the place value wars, I guarantee you're going to have challenges starting your day, ending your day. It's just such a fun one.
It is a really fun game. And if you want to get your kids used to it, I know we've suggested this before, but you could play a class game, teacher versus students, and have a class game happening where you're modeling it to the students, and maybe you have a representative that does really understand those concepts of place value. So that free game, we will make sure that we link in the show notes. We've got a version for 2-digit numbers, 3-digit numbers, and 4-digit numbers. Everyone's covered. Okay, let's move on to grades 5 and 6, which you might be thinking, is this really relevant here? These games that we started here with grades 5 and 6, we started creating a pack of different games that they could use because we really do believe that older kids need to have the opportunity to play games and have hands-on activities in maths, even when they're in those upper years.
They're going to have enough time to have bums on seats.
They
doing
are.
pen and paper and tech work. So why not get out the cards? And one that you might have not have thought to do with cards is using them to generate fractions. So you could get them so that you're, say, practicing improper fractions, and you've taught that concept and you want them now to get more practice, is get them generating improper fractions and converting them to proper fractions. Hey, already my brain's going, oh, that seems like a bit of a challenge. And if you need those students there who need the manipulatives, who need examples of fraction cards or fraction walls or whatever it might be, obviously have that accessible to them, but have that card there to be generating the number so you don't have to print out a worksheet for them. They can generate their own with the cards.
Yeah, and again, like Alicia said, for the multiplication, which would be a very good activity for 5 and 6 too, having them just randomly choose 2 cards just to keep practicing that multiplication fluency. But you mentioned that you could lock in one card. Same with the fractions. You could lock in that denominator. So then the students could create fractions to add together or to subtract or to compare. Much easier to compare like fractions than fractions that have got the different denominators.
For sure.
Okay, second idea for grades 5 and 6 is sorting your numbers into 2 groups, prime and composite, because I know that is one of those concepts that we start to talk about as they get a little bit older. So getting them to sort out them firstly as single digits, and then if they're competent, they could make double digits by placing 2 cards together and sorting them into piles of prime and composite. Again, this would be a really good one to do in pairs so they could really talk and get that mathematical language flowing and help each other out. A bit of peer mentoring or tutoring if needed.
Yeah, love it. What a more fun way to teach prime and composite numbers using those unit cards. It's a great one. So with cards in general, for all your age groups, you can be using them to practice addition and number sentences. You could be using them for your times tables. We didn't touch on it. You can even be using them for your division facts or anything that they know about numbers. A really fun one that you love to do, Ash. Can you tell us the final one that you can get to do that the kids salivate over?
Yes. So I get the card and I enlarge it on the photocopier in color if your school allows you to do that. I actually had to do this at my husband's work when I first did it because my school wouldn't allow me, but that is a different topic altogether. So I enlarge it so it's like an A4 piece of paper, so it might be the number 8. And then on the top, I say a little prompt like, the answer is 3, or your total is whatever the number is, and you pass it around and the kids have to create number sentences or facts, mathematical facts that they know answer that question. So for example, your total is 8. I'm looking at an example here that I did with my class. They had 4 plus 4, 2 plus 2, 6 plus 1, 8 plus 0, 10 take away 2, 8 is double 4. So lots of different things, just looking at that number in a different way. You know what, Alicia? I know you said this was our last one, but another good way to use cards, which is kind of along this line, is as a number generator for a number of the day. If you're doing a number of the day, the kids could have 1 card for a single digit number, 2 cards for 2-digit, 3-digit. We've got a free number of the day, so I'll make sure that goes in the show notes too. But this is a bit more of a fun way to get a number.
And look, as much as we love dice, the cards are so much quieter.
Oh, aren't they? No cards flying around the room, generally not. And kids don't really know how to make card houses these days. Have you noticed that?
Oh, look, it's been a few years since I've been in the classroom. I felt like I had kids who used to still do them quite a lot.
I loved making card houses when I was a kid. Like me and my brother and sister would spend hours making card houses at my granny's house.
I think we need to bring it back, babes. STEM
We
activity.
do.
Bring it back.
You know what? I think I'm going to do it this afternoon with my kids. We've got to get haircuts, but once we've gotten the haircuts, we might come home and do some card houses.
Now,
I will let everyone know how it goes.
Yes.
Me watching on Instagram, I'll share it on stories.
So, like we said before, we do love Unicards because you do get so many. You're going to get 8 sets of 0 through to 9. So, if you're there thinking I need to invest in some, start off with a couple of packs, see how you go, and then you might find that the cohort that you have really love them, and you might want to then go check out that thrift store or just put a call out to parents and be like, who's got some old Unicards they're not
Yeah.
using? And before you know it, they're piling up at the front of your classroom.
Yeah,
Now,
call
if
outs
you-
to parents are always so good, aren't they? The other thing I was going to say is we often get asked, I actually was answering a question about this exact topic this morning, is teachers say, like, I want to do Unicard activities with my whole class. How many packs do I need? We probably recommend 1 pack per 3 to 4 students.
Yeah. So 6, say for
Yeah.
your class of 24. Start with 6, see how you go. Now, if you've loved any of these ideas, we actually have made it super simple for you because we have put together a whole collection up to 14 activities with templates, with ideas that you can use for all grade levels from kindy all the way up to year 6. And we're going to link these in the show notes because once Ashley and I got started creating these, we couldn't stop and we made a couple of versions. If you're thinking, yes, I think this is my breakthrough for my students to help them love maths, or we're in a bit of a maths rut, pull out the Unicards. It'll help.
Yeah,
We
kids
promise.
love these games. The feedback we get from teachers is the kids want to play these all the time, even when it's wet weather, during inside recess time. They want to play them because they have so much fun. And you know what's really good about them for teachers? They just print and go. These are just
Yeah.
mats. You print them out. You've got your Unicards. You just need to make sure that you read the rules, but the kids can also read the rules and off you go. It's just fun. We've also tried to make sure that we've catered for a range of different topics in math. So I know we've got some for time, some for measurement, some for number, like we spoke about, some for place values. We try and make sure that we cover a range of different things. So it is varied.
Yes, and don't waste your time laminating them. You don't
No.
need to laminate these, okay? Just print them, pop them in a plastic sleeve, and off you go.
Perfect.
And on that note, there are rainbows ahead, my friend.
And together, we're unstoppable.